I believe it's been about 2 years since I did an update on my, what I originally was calling Dark Mikumo is actually Yami Mikumo. Reason being, I lost the drive to finish her off. It was mostly due to the eyes, and I still haven't fully figured out how I'm going to get the eyes to properly meet or match the socket, but I have a few ideas in my head. With that said, as you can tell, a significant amount has happened to her since I last uploaded a video on her 2 years ago. I doubt anyone's going to remember that video. Hopefully I'll remember to link it in the description below, but I left off with her barely being built. I got the legs built and whatnot, but I stopped like right about here or so. Obviously, a lot more has changed since then. You can actually see where I actually stopped building and then when I started rebuilding her just recently. Reason that is, I don't remember what printer I used when I was initially building her. I know it wasn't the Epson because the Epson's a fairly new purchase. I barely had this thing for like maybe 6 months. And and of course, Yumi Mikumo has been around for 2 years. So I can't remember what I used to print it. So I'm just going to use the Epson and just keep it at that because, well, the Epson is a damn good printer. So with that said, as you can tell, this title of the video, or this video in general, this one's not going to be mostly about my Mikumo, it's about my Canon. It'll most likely end up being a failure, but at the very least, I want to upload a video showing that I am starting back up on my Mikumo. So as of right now, I'm currently working on the face. It is where I'm currently at after about 8 to 9 hours of just continuous work. I took like a 1 hour break to play some Pain Thunder, but that's the only break I took. So I've been working on this non-stop. And the thing is, even I thought when I was initially starting this that it wouldn't take 9 freaking hours to get to this point. But all the folding, all the cutting, all the hot gluing and everything else, it just takes forever. And again, I only got to this point right here and I still got maybe 2 more pages worth just to finish off the face. And then on top of that, I got added in the reinforcements and whatnot right here to maintain the actual shape. And then somehow make it to where she has a very slight smile. It's very, very slight, at least I think it is. But the model does have a very slight smile, and if I turn off edges, it really does look like she has a smile. If I go like that, it's ever so slight. So I need to figure out how I need to re-replicate that because I can only fold paper so much and try and get it to be accurate. I mean, with Shirley, for instance, I think I just got lucky with her because her finger is covering the majority of her mouth, and then in the finger or in the area that's covering is the area that's kind of all botched to heck and back. So the finger is able to cover up the mess I wasn't able to fix, and still she looks relatively fine. And why did I bring out Shirley? Well, out of all the Macross models I built, her face actually came out the best. So I'm using her as a template to remember how I cut the face. So when I want to put Mikumo's face together, I can have it nearly like a Shirley's and whatnot. Now I would like to rebuild Freya in the same way I did with Yami Mikumo and Shirley, because if you don't remember the way I built Freya initially, it looks like she's like one of those what are those stupid dolls of strings? She looks like one of those things. I forget what you call them. And it was just due to the way I built her face. Of course, since I built Shirley Mikumo this way, it's not as jarring. With that also said, if I do rebuild Freya, I'm going to rebuild her in the Yumi form. Reason being, I want the Yumi version. I want to actually build all the Wakir in the Yumi variant. With that also said, I have no idea what the actual Yumi is like. I have no idea what happens to them in the movie, and I'm not going to watch the movie because I know what happens at the very end, and I prefer not to feel that hard. It's personally, I don't want to watch that movie. I own it. Give me a sec. As you can see, I own the limited edition one with the Frontier add-on, so I can watch this whenever I want. I just choose not to, because like I said, I know what happens at the end and I don't want to see it. So the term ignorance is bliss is going to be very much truthful when it comes to the Umai characters if I end up building them. The reason why I say if is because, well, each one takes at least a month to build. And when I'm done, I don't want to build anything for at least 1 to 2 months after. So maybe by then, when I actually go to maybe build Umai Freya, I'll be able to more properly figure things out blender wise. Because for those that don't remember, when it comes to this particular pose right here, the actual animations were actually tied to the model. So I was able to go into Blender, pause it at the right animation I want, and then export it as that nice little rig. And then I re-imported it back into Blender, did the model manipulation that I need to fix mesh collisioning and whatnot, and just generally clean them all up to my skill set. And for my first model being done basically all by myself, I'm very happy with how well it came out. And unironically, I very much like this pose. So it's going to be a little more interesting for game posing for Freya and the others, because again, I don't know what their actual personalities are like. I can get an idea through like fan art and whatnot. And if the fan art for Monica is to be believed, Yami Monica is she's a doozy. So getting a pose for that one's going to be a little interesting. But with that said, on to the main meat of this video. I got a Canon Pixma I want to try and fix. Now that printer head has not come in yet, but hopefully this one little print head will resolve the printing issues. So with that said, let me actually get everything set up so I can actually just show you what the actual issues are first. One more thing I do want to quickly mention is the pose I'm using for Yami Mikumo. It does have its drawbacks. Unlike Shirley's very unique pose, Yami Mikumo, she wants to go this way every single time. So unless that changes as I add in the hair and whatnot, getting a stand for her is going to be a pain in the butt. Luckily, I know I could just use a 980 and whatnot, and that's more than enough weight to stop her from tipping over. With that said, when it comes to the weight of a 980 is about 2 or so pounds, which means I could probably get like what, a 5-pound weight for her, and she ain't going nowhere. But I'll deal with that when I actually fully get her built. Alright, so here is the Canon Pixma I got. I got this from my local Free Geek for $5 because it was not working. Let me show you exactly what's going on with it. Now, it will print, as you can hear. Give a little bit and you'll see exactly what the issue is. Yeah, that doesn't look exactly right now, doesn't it? Basically, everything that's black prints completely fine, but colors go to complete and utter shite. Though, considering this image, it kind of actually looks good like this, if I'm going to be quite honest. Here's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be a lot more vibrant and a lot more colorful, but considering this is the Maya variants, I kind of like this. But that's not here or there. I need to get the printer fixed. So I've done all the cleaning as necessary to this thing. I even managed to soft lock it, and I managed to unsoft lock it. It was thinking the little sponge here and whatnot that's for catching ink and whatnot was full. I fixed that. So after all the cleaning, after fixing the stupid soft brick, it still wouldn't work. So the only other solution I can come up with is physically replacing the color print head. Luckily, this Canon has replaceable print heads, so I got one coming into the mail. It should be in here today. I don't know when, but that is theoretically all I need to do to get this Canon here up and running. And the major reason why I want to get this Canon up and running is, well, my Epson is an eco tank. It's a damn good eco tank. And when this Canon Eco Tank came in, I want to try and revive this thing because, well, it's a freaking tank printer and these things literally print forever. My Epson Eco Tank here has been printing since I initially got it from my Free Geek for $35. I got it with half full ink, and this thing's managed to print multiple standees and managed to print 3 life-size anime figurines. They're my Hololive girls, if I remember to put a link for those in the description below if you want to see what those are. But this Canon, or not Canon, the Epson, for being half filled with ink, lasting that long is impressive. With that said, I'm probably going to have to replace the ink to finish off Mikumo because I am actually getting warnings on my computer that the ink is actually low. So, yeah, it's a little shame I won't be able to fully finish off Mikumo with the certain amount of ink I have left in that thing, but I don't want it to run dry. And I'm fairly certain the ink reservoirs in this Canon here are bigger than the ink reservoirs in my Epson. Again, not to say the Epson isn't bad, it's a damn good Epson. But if I can get a Canon with bigger ink tanks, I'll gladly go for this because, well, this thing might actually be even a better printer than the Epson, but I won't know that yet until I fix it. And hopefully I'll be able to actually fix it. Alright, the new head came directly from Canon themselves, so I'm not doing some third-party bullcrap. Apparently there's a online replacement manual for this thing, so I'm going to look at that and come back when I go to test the printer. Alright, got the new print head installed. The website was just basically all the printers, and I had to go and look for what this is. I was like, yeah, I know, I'm just going to replace it. So with that said, it's either going to do one or two things. It's going to print, or it's going to give me an error. It's giving me an error, which is what I expect it to do. And this little error right here is basically it not recognizing the print head, so I got to seed it like a few times. Alright, so I reseeded it, I power cycled. It seems to boot it up completely fine. If it wasn't going to work properly on the boot, it will give me an error, so now it's just doing other things. I think it's probably like priming the actual tubes and whatnot. Because it is doing noises that are not normal, but again, I expect as much considering I did just replace the head and whatnot. So with that said, here is the old head, and generally it looks fine. So why it's not printing properly beyond me, but then again, who knows? So I guess I'll just let this thing sit and make noise for a while. Man, it made printer noises for like 5 minutes. With that said, for the quality, I set it to high. That way, so I have as much ink running through the lines and whatnot to have hopefully a good outcome. So it will take a little while before I can actually see what's going to be like, so I'll come back in a bit. It's kind of looking like it might have been fixed. Yeah, I think I can safely say I have fixed this printer, almost, for $40. So it died right here. So there is life in this printer. I just gotta figure out why it died here, which is fairly interesting to say the least. So at least we got something. It's kind of looking like the black just died on me. I'm getting full color, but now I'm getting black. But now the black's not showing right. What is going on with this poor printer? What did people do to this thing prior to me getting it? Jeez. Well, red's a little low, yellow's a little low, that's low. Black is fine. I mean, I do have a new tub of black, so I can see if putting a new tub, or not a new tub, but a what's left of the black in there and see if it does anything, but I doubt it. Okay, the black is printing fine here text-wise. I'm still installing drivers, so I'm just going to do another print and see what happens. And it's crapping the bed yet again. But this time around it's printing a little bit more black than last time. I mean, it's trying. There is life in this dumb thing, but I find it a little ironic that I spent $30 for a new color head, and that fixes the color issue, and then right after that, the black shits the bed. And I know for a fact it's not a feed issue or the ink being low, because well I just filled it up nearly fully with what was left of that black ink reservoir thing, so it's definitely not a low ink issue. Maybe I need to run this thing through the old cleaning crap some more. I don't know. Alright, well, I'm going to do what is classified, I guess, as a deep clean. With that said, I took a look at what this thing costs online. Getting one of these brand new is $120. So, it's not as expensive as the Epson, but if I have to buy a back cartridge for this thing, I'm already now $40 into this. A black cartridge is about $30. So I would actually be fairly close to just outright buying a new one of these. And that's kind of a hard thing for me to swallow because I got this thing for $5. I'm willing to put 30 or 40 bucks in for a new color head, but anything more is like just chuck this thing and get a new one, especially considering it's 120 bucks. If it was like 250, 300, then I'll gladly put another 30 bucks into a new black head and whatnot so I can have a fully working printer. But for 120, it kind of ain't worth it. Well, it definitely is going through the black ink at the very least, so it's doing something. With that said, the actual total amount I've tied into this thing right now is actually like $50 or so, give or take. $5 for the initial purchase, and then 44, 45 for the new color head. And at that point, when it comes again to the black, I'll now be at like $80, $90 into this thing, and that is basically just buy a new printer at that point, which isn't what I want to do because I want to try and revive this thing, but I don't think I'll be able to revive it like I was with the Epson. Alright, let's try this image and see what happens. One successful print. All right. So let's real time this, close out that image, go back to the original image I was trying to print. Go here, print. Two successful prints. All right, so with that said, since we got two successful on standard, I'm now going to go and try and print these at high quality again, this one and this one right here. Actually though, before I do that, I want to see what standard actually looks like, because when it comes to standard on like my Epson, if I look closely I can actually see the little actual ink dots, but if I go to high quality it basically blends, and that's what I tend to do with my figures now, and same thing with posters and whatnot, because I want them to be as nice looking, especially if you go up close. Granted, I'm the one looking at them up close anyways, but it's a personal preference. When it comes to the dot dithering, I think that's what you call it, it actually blends it far better than the Epson does, which is one of the reasons why I want to try and revive this little sucker. But yeah, it seems to actually do its blending perfectly fine on standard. So if I can manage to get this printer to work consistently and not shit the bed, This may actually become my new mainstay printer, and the Epson will be stored for backup purposes. But only time will tell, because this may be the make or break for this printer. So I'm going to go to high, I'm going to go OK, and I'm going to go to print. And since I'm printing on high, it will take a little while to print, so I'll come back when it's near complete. Alright, so far so good. It's almost complete, I think. It's definitely faster than the Epson, but not by much. Geez, making a video on a printer. With that said, fully completed photo. And I'm going to take a look at it off camera real quick. Alright, the details are very, very slight. There's a little bit of dithering right here on, I don't know how to pronounce her name's boots right here. I mean, you can see it on all of them. But if I go to this one here, it's more properly blended. It still shows up on Freya. If anything, it kind of looks a little bit better on the original. But that could just be me looking at different lighting or just personal preference. I don't know. Either way, the difference is ever so slight. But it is there, but it's not as dramatic like it is with the Epson. With that said, there is one thing that may still make me select high for this printer. Is because there are lines like right here and right here, as you can somewhat see, that are not here on the best quality. So as long as that isn't really noticeable in like standard printing, then I'll be fine. But with that said, let's now print the last image and see what happens. Alright, I think this one is just about done. And so far it's printing out completely fine. And we have another full successful print. Hooray! I think I can safely say that I have managed to revive this $5 printer for $45, $44, give or take, and a little bit of pain and misery, and now I have a fully working Canon Eco Tank. The colors are getting a little low, but I got myself a printer now. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, before I unplug it and store it away temporarily so I can figure out a place for it a little later on, I'm actually going to let it sit for a while. It is 1:15 p.m. I've been up since 9 something p.m. yesterday. I'm tired. I want to go to bed, and I want to go to bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to test it again when I wake up later today or tomorrow. And probably after I get done putting Yami Mikumo's face together, because that's going to take priority and it'll really let this thing sit for a while. Luckily tomorrow it won't take that long to fully finish off her face. I mean, the parts that are going to be really hard to do is going to be the eyelashes and whatnot. Granted, it's not going to be as hard like for something like Shirley and whatnot, but it's not going to be that fun to do. But the general hard part, which is the mouth, is more or less done and over with. It's just that by the time I got to this point, I was just, like I said earlier, I've been working on this thing for a while and I'm really tired and I want to go to bed. Alright, it is now the next day. I got done putting the rest of the face together. I still have to build the eyelashes and eyes and whatnot, but the face itself is more or less complete. So why not actually properly test my Pixma printer now that I managed to fix yesterday? And to properly test it, I'm going to reprint one of my posters I have on my wall. I'm actually going to reprint this Shirley I have on my door. Reason being is I just never really liked how it came out, and I've been wanting to redo this poster for a long time. I just never got around to it. And well, since I've been wanting to do that for years, why not use a reprint of this to test the can and whatnot. With that also said, I believe the printer I used for this was my big HP I got a while back from Free Geek, and it had third-party ink and it still has third-party ink, so It's not 100% accurate, but it's still a good image. But I really want to test that Canon, and I've been wanting, like I said, redo this photo for a while. All right, we got a little bit into the print, and it's printing out just fine. There is a little bit of lining and whatnot, but I'm not going to complain about it because, well, I'm just testing to make sure this printer works, and at a distance, I won't be able to notice those lines, and it's a poster. It's not one of these nice, intricate figures where I want them to be nice and clean and crisp. I mean, I would like the posters not have the linings and whatnot, but I'll make do with lines on a poster because it's completely fine. But with that said, it seems to be doing the job just fine and it hasn't messed up yet. Alright, the printer printed out completely fine. I don't see a single page with an issue. If anything, the colors actually look a lot more accurate. And one way to really show that off is if I bring up, give me a sec. As you can see, the original poster, she's more gray when with the Canon, she has that more proper skin tone. She always had a slightly unique tone to her, but she looked very off. But of course, the Canon printed just far more better. Forgive the noise in the background, the AC unit is on. It's a little warm in my room, so that's why I'm running it. With that said, the Canon is, well, as you've seen, fully working completely fine. I was originally planning on doing a before and after on the Shirley poster, but unfortunately I wasn't able to go out today to get the stuff I wanted to do to properly build this poster. So I'll just leave the video here when it comes to the Canon. The Canon fully works, and for what, $44, I fixed a good printer. So with that also said, one more thing. The face for Yami Mikumo is finally done. Took 3 days of pain and misery, but overall I'm happy with how it came out. And I was really stressing about the eyes, but I actually figured out a solution for the eyes, allowed me to properly more or less mount them. Now they're not flush to the face like Shirley's are, but it actually doesn't look too bad. And what's even better is that if you look at it at the proper angles, the expression completely changes. And I very much prefer that. And what makes it even funnier is that when I was initially getting the face attached, I was actually planning on making it to where her face can go like this, to where she can be more looking directly at you. But again, when you look at her at proper angles, expression changes. And considering this is Yami Mikumo, I kind of like it. So with that said, next thing for me to do is build out the ears, hit the phone battery low on my phone, like I was trying to say before my phone interrupted me. Build out the ears, attach the eyebrows and whatnot, build out the hair, and then once that's all done, then of course the arms and the hands and fingers. Now, generally speaking, the hard part is more or less past, but the next part that's also just going to take a while to do is going to be the fingers. They just take forever. For instance, just building one of these for Shirley alone took about an hour for one finger. So it's going to take, what, 10 hours of me just folding, hot gluing, and cutting just to build both 5 sets of fingers for both hands. And that's excluding the process of actually building out the arms and everything else. So at the very least, the arms and hands are going to be minimum a 2-day adventure. When it comes to the hair and whatnot, that's possibly going to be maybe a 3-day adventure. It's not difficult like the face, but it's definitely a lot of bit of folding, and I actually need to make it to where I can actually remove the ponytail from her and whatnot. That way so I can more easily lug her around. And then of course I got that big old wing thing that goes onto the back of her head too, so I also got to figure that out. So when it comes to her being complete, I was originally going to think maybe 1 to 2 weeks. I'm going to give it another 3. But I don't think it'll be that long. But again, I just want to give a nice little rough idea of how long it'll take. I don't think it'll take 3 weeks. I don't think it'll take 2. But considering it took 3 days just to build the face, I wouldn't be surprised. But luckily I'm getting close to her being complete.